The Murders of Natalie Moore and Zariah Fraser, True Crime Documentary, Inspired Story. Studio Microphone Chapter 1. The day they went missing, it was a quiet afternoon. The sun was still high in the sky. Children were playing outside. Cars passed slowly on the street. Everything felt normal. Too normal. In a small neighborhood. Two girls were laughing. Natalie Moore was 12 years old. She liked drawing and music. She always carried a small notebook. Zariah Fraser was 11 years old. She loved dancing. She always smiled. They were best friends. They did everything together. That day, they planned something simple. "Let's go to the park," Zariah said. Natalie smiled. "Just for a little while," she replied. Their parents said yes. It was close. Not far. Just a short walk. "Be back before dinner," Natalie's mom said. "We will," Natalie answered. Zariah waved. "Don't worry." And just like that, they left. No one knew. That would be the last time they were seen. The girls walked down the street, talking, laughing, sharing stories. They didn't feel danger. They didn't feel fear, because nothing looked wrong. Everything looked normal. They reached the park. It was quiet. A few people were there. Nothing unusual. They sat on a bench, talking again. Time passed. Slowly. Then something changed. A car drove by slowly. Too slowly. Natalie noticed. "Why is that car moving like that?" she asked. Zariah looked. "I don't know." The car stopped. For a moment, nothing happened. Then it moved again. Driving away. The girls looked at each other, a little confused. But they didn't think much about it. They were kids. They went back to talking. Minutes later, the park felt quieter, more empty. The sun was starting to go down. "We should go home," Natalie said. Zariah nodded. "Yeah." They stood up, started walking back. But something felt different now, like someone was watching. Natalie turned her head. Nothing, just empty space. But the feeling stayed. That quiet feeling, that something wasn't right. They walked faster, trying to ignore it. Then, a sound, a car door, close, too close. They turned. A man stood near a car. He looked normal. Nothing strange, nothing scary. But something about him felt wrong. "Hey," the man said calmly. The girl stopped. Not too close, not too far. "Yes." Natalie asked carefully. The man smiled. "Can you help me for a second?" Zariah looked at Natalie. Natalie didn't move. "What do you need?" she asked. The man pointed to his car. "I dropped something. I can't reach it." The girls stayed still. Something inside them said, "Don't move." But they didn't run either. They just stood there. That moment was very important, because sometimes danger doesn't look dangerous. It looks normal. The man stepped a little closer. Still calm. Still smiling. "It will only take a second," he said. Natalie shook her head slightly. "We should go," she whispered to Zariah. Zariah nodded. "Sorry, we have to leave," she said. The man's face changed. Just a little. The smile faded. The air became heavy. Very heavy. The girls turned to walk away. Fast. But not running. Not yet. Then, footsteps. Behind them. Fast. Too fast. Zariah turned. Her eyes widened. "Run," she said. And they did. They ran as fast as they could. Their hearts racing. Their breath heavy. Fear took over. Real fear. The kind you can't ignore. The man ran after them. Closer. Closer. The street was empty. No help. No one to call. Natalie tripped. Fell hard. Zariah stopped. "Get up," she cried. Natalie tried. But her legs shook. The man was almost there. Everything felt fast. Too fast. Then, silence. The kind of silence that feels wrong. Very wrong. That was the moment everything changed. That evening, the girls didn't come home. At first, their parents waited. Maybe they were late. Maybe they stopped somewhere. But time kept passing, and passing, and passing. Then worry turned into fear. Calls were made. Neighbors were asked, "Have you seen them?" "No, not today." "Sorry." The park was checked. Empty. No sign of them. The police were called. Lights flashed. Officers searched. Questions were asked. Where were they last seen? What were they wearing? Did anyone see anything strange? Hours passed. Then night came. The street looked different now. Darker, quieter, colder. The same place, but not the same feeling. Because now, 2 girls were missing, and no one knew where they were. The next day, the whole town knew. Pictures were shared. Names were spoken. Natalie Moore, Zariah Fraser. Search teams walked through fields. Dogs followed scents. Police checked cameras. Time mattered. Every second mattered. Because in cases like this, the first hours are the most important. But something was already wrong. There were no clear answers. No clear signs. Just questions. And fear. Deep fear. Because everyone was thinking the same thing. What really happened to the girls? And where were they now? That was the beginning, not just of a search, but of a story that would shock everyone. A story that would change lives forever. And the truth was much darker than anyone expected. Chapter 2. The investigation begins. The next morning felt different. The neighborhood was quiet. Too quiet. People stood outside their homes, talking in low voices. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Where are the girls? Police cars were everywhere. Lights flashing. Officers walking around, looking closely at everything. Nothing was too small. Nothing was ignored. Because now, this was serious. Very serious. Natalie Moore and Zariah Fraser were missing, and time was already moving. Fast. A police officer stood near the park, looking around. Carefully, he spoke into his radio. We need more units here. Other officers arrived. They spread out, searching the ground, looking for anything. Footprints, objects, clues. Even the smallest detail mattered. Near a bench, an officer stopped. Over here, he called. Another officer walked over. What is it? The first officer pointed down. A small object, on the ground. It was a notebook. Simple, worn. The cover was slightly bent. The officer picked it up slowly, carefully. Inside, drawings, little sketches, flowers, hearts, names. One name stood out. Natalie. This belongs to one of the girls, the officer said. The second officer nodded. That means they were here. But they already knew that. What they needed to know was what happened next. The area was blocked off. Tape went up. No one was allowed inside. People watched from far away, worried, silent. A detective arrived. His name was Detective Harris. He had seen cases like this before, but that didn't make it easier. He looked at the park. Slowly, carefully. Walk me through everything, he said. An officer explained. Girls were last seen here yesterday afternoon. No witnesses so far. We found this. He handed over the notebook. Detective Harris opened it, looked inside, closed it. Bag it, he said. His face was serious. Focus. Check every camera in this area, he added. We're already working on it. The officer replied. Hours passed. More searching. More questions. Still no answers. Then a call came in. Detective, you need to see this. Harris walked quickly. What do you have? A tech officer pointed at a screen. This is from a street camera about 2 blocks from the park. Harris leaned closer. The video played. A quiet street. Empty. Then 2 small figures appeared. The girls. Walking. Talking. Alive. Harris watched carefully. Keep going, he said. The video continued. Then a car appeared, driving slowly. Too slowly. Harris's eyes narrowed. Pause, he said. The image stopped. The car was dark, hard to see clearly. Can you zoom in? Harris asked. The tech tried. The image became blurry. But something was visible. A shape, a license plate. Not clear, but part of it could be seen. That's something, Harris said. Enhance it, he added. We're trying, the tech replied. The video played again. The car stopped. For a moment, then moved again. The girls kept walking. Harris watched in silence, then said, That car is important. He turned to the officer. Find it. Back at the station, things moved fast. Calls were made. Information shared. Teams worked together. Every second mattered. Meanwhile, search teams continued. Fields, streets, nearby areas. Dogs followed scents. But the trail was weak, fading. That worried everyone, because it meant one thing. Time was running out. Later that day, the parents were called in. They sat in a quiet room, holding each other, waiting, hoping. Detective Harris walked in. He sat down slowly. "We are doing everything we can," he said. Natalie's mother looked at him. "Did you find them?" she asked. Her voice was shaking. Harris paused. "Not yet." Zariah's father looked down, tears in his eyes. "What happened to them?" he asked. Harris spoke carefully. "We believe they were taken." The room went silent. That word, taken, changed everything. Natalie's mother covered her mouth. Zariah's father closed his eyes. The fear became real, very real. Who would do this? Natalie's mother whispered. Harris didn't answer right away, because the truth was, they didn't know yet, but they were getting closer. That night, the investigation grew bigger. More officers, more searches, more pressure. The whole town was watching, waiting, hoping. Back at the station, the tech team worked on the video. Hours passed. Then finally, "We got something," one of them said. Harris walked over fast. "What is it?" The screen showed the car again, clearer this time. The license plate, part of it was now readable. Harris leaned in. "Read it slowly." "This is good," he said. "Run it." The system searched. Seconds felt like minutes. Then, a result. The car had a match. Registered to a man. Name, Daniel Cross. Harris looked at the screen. Silent. "Who is he?" an officer asked. Harris didn't take his eyes off the screen. "We're about to find out," he said. That was the moment. The case changed. From missing to something darker. Because now there was a name. And names lead to answers. But sometimes they also lead to something much worse. Harris took a deep breath. "Get a team ready," he said. "We're going to pay Mr. Cross a visit." And deep inside, he knew one thing. This case was far from over, and the truth was going to be hard to face. Chapter 3. The man behind the car. The room was quiet. Everyone was looking at the same screen. One name, Daniel Cross. That name changed everything. Detective Harris stood still for a moment, thinking, planning. Then he spoke. "Get his address." An officer typed quickly. A location appeared on the screen. A small house on the edge of town, not far from the park. Harris looked at it carefully. "So close," he said quietly. That made it worse, because it meant this person was nearby, watching, living a normal life, while the girls were missing. "Let's move," Harris said. Within minutes, officers were ready. Car started. Lights off. Quiet approach. No noise. No warning. Because they didn't know what they would find. And they couldn't take any risk. The drive felt long. Even though it wasn't. Every second mattered. Every thought felt heavy. What if the girls were inside? What if they were too late? No one said it out loud. But everyone was thinking it. They arrived at the house. Simple. Quiet. Nothing special. It looked normal. Too normal. Harris stepped out of the car. Looked at the house. Windows closed. No movement. He raised his hand, signaling the team. They moved into position. Front door. Back door. All sides covered. Harris walked to the door. Knocked hard. "Police, open the door." No answer. He knocked again. Louder. "Police." Still nothing. Harris looked at the team, then nodded. The door was forced open. Fast. Loud. Officers moved inside. Clear. Left side clear. Right side clear. Rooms were checked, one by one. Everything looked normal. Furniture in place. Nothing broken. Nothing out of place. Too clean. Too quiet. Harris walked slowly through the living room, looking at everything. Pictures on the wall. A couch. A table. Nothing strange. But something felt wrong. Then, "Detective," a voice called from the back. Harris moved quickly. "What is it?" An officer stood near a small room. The door was half open. Harris stepped closer, looked inside. The room was empty, but on the floor, something caught his eye. A piece of cloth. Small, colorful. Harris picked it up carefully. His face changed. "This matches what one of the girls was wearing," he said. The room felt colder. Very cold. That was not a good sign. "Not at all. Search everything," Harris ordered. "No mistakes." Officers moved fast, checking every corner, every drawer, every space. Time passed. Then, "Nothing else," one officer said. Harris stood still, thinking. The girls were not there. But something had been, something important. And now, it was gone. That meant one thing. The suspect knew. He knew the police were coming. Or he had already planned to move. Either way, they were behind. Harris stepped outside, took a deep breath. An officer walked up. "What now?" he asked. Harris looked back at the house, then said, "We find him." Back at the station, the pressure grew. The name was out. The face was known. But the man was gone. They pulled up his records. Daniel Cross, age 38, worked small jobs, lived alone, no strong criminal history, nothing obvious, nothing that screamed danger. But now, everything was different. "Check his phone," Harris said. "Already working on it," the tech replied. "Bank records?" "On it." "Friends?" "Family?" "Very few." Harris frowned. "That makes it harder, because people who stay alone are harder to track." That night, the town was not the same. Fear had spread. Doors were locked early. Lights stayed on. Parents held their children closer, because now there was a real threat, a real person, and no one knew where he was. The next morning, a break came, a small one, but important. "Detective," a voice called. Harris turned. "What is it?" "We track his phone." Harris walked fast. "Where?" The officer pointed at the screen. "A highway, about an hour from here." Harris looked at it. "He's moving," he said. That meant one thing. He was trying to get away. "Alert nearby units," Harris said quickly. "Don't lose him." Police cars were sent out. Fast. Sirens ready. Eyes focused. The search was now bigger, wider, more urgent. Hours passed. Then, another call. "We found the car." Harris froze for a second. "Where?" "Abandoned, near a wooded area." Harris grabbed his jacket. "I'm on my way." When he arrived, the car was there, parked, empty, silent. Harris walked around it, slowly, looking closely. The door was open. Inside, nothing. No person. No movement. But something felt wrong. Very wrong. Officers spread out, searching the area. The woods were thick, dark, quiet, too quiet. Then a voice shouted, "Over here!" Harris ran, fast, through the trees, his heart beating hard. An officer stood still, looking down. Harris slowed, walked closer. Carefully, he looked, and his face changed. The air felt heavy. The moment felt slow, because what they found was not what anyone wanted. Harris closed his eyes for a second, then opened them again. This case had just become something much darker, and the truth was finally starting to show itself. But it was not the kind of truth anyone wanted. Not at all.